Welcome to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprofit.com. And now your hosts, Craig
Welcome
and Jeff.
everyone to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today we're continuing with the top 5 list this off season. This time we're going with our top 5 undervalued players that we see right now. If you look at like any of the rankings that are out there, Fantasy Pros, ESPN has some, kind of just taking a look at who we think is, I guess, undervalued at this point in the season. Trying not to go as deep as we did with sleepers and stuff like that, but there's some good names here. I think there's some value to be had throughout. So I think we just jump into this thing, Jeff. We'll go our top 5. We'll go 5 to 1. And how about you start us off here? What do you have number 5 this week?
At number 5, this one might be a little bit of a stretch for me. That's why I put him at number 5. But I actually went with Devin Singletary. So the running back for Buffalo, from what I saw, right, you have to kind of pick and choose which which one of these lists you're going to be looking at. And we're only looking at people that were pretty much in the top 30. So starting ability. And right now he's ranking around 20th. I don't think this one is a giant jump, but looking at the running back situation, I think he's a clear-cut number 1 there. I think he has a ton of upside. That offense is obviously kind of geared towards the run, whether it be the QB or running back. So I like him as edging his way closer to the top 10, even though I don't think, just because he hasn't played that much, people won't draft him that way. So I like him to be a little undervalued and stay that way because I don't think he's going to rise too much.
Yeah, I don't think he'll rise much from this. And shoot, I'd love to see him up closer to top 10. I'm a big Singletary fan for next year. He didn't make my list, but I did actually look at the name and I'm like, I think he could be higher than this. But 19, I don't think he's going to go higher than this. Anything, I think he could go lower, possibly.
Yeah, oh no, without a doubt. I do like getting him this year, and That's one of the reasons. So, and also I like to pick guys I want to talk about, and I really do like Singletary. So
yeah, I do too. And yeah, he's okay. I'll go with mine. Mine's actually right now in Fantasy Pros, 1 spot below Singletary. And this is the weird thing because I don't know how sold I am on it, but I'm going Le'Veon Bell only because he's the 20th ranked running back right now, and I'm not sure if he fell off that much. I don't know if he fell off to that kind of level. The problem is it's this team, and what are they going to be? Are they going to cut him even? Who knows? Probably not, but maybe. You never know. And that's the thing. Like, if he is on the team, can he really? He's still Le'Veon Bell. He can't be this bad, right? I don't know. This is where I'm just like I'm not sure. My personal opinion, I hope they trade him, get him to a team, trade him, release him, get him to a team that actually will use him. Because there's no way there's no way he should be ranked below like Kenyon Drake and Devin Singletary, even honestly. He's still Le'Veon Bell. He should be better than this. And they didn't use him that way. Maybe Darnold takes a step up, who knows. But Bell, I just feel like that's why he's number 5 though, because I'm not 100% just sold on him in the situations, all these factors, but I still feel like there's value here. At the 20th running back, I feel like this isn't a bad spot to get him.
No, I actually doubled down a little more on that. I actually had him number 3.
Okay, yeah.
So I agree with you. I saw him as high as 15, but more you're looking at about 20th. And the thing is, they did use him. He stayed healthy. He took 2018 off, right? So in at least the good thing about that, and that his body got back to where it should have been. He took 245 carries, and he looked healthy doing it, even though his yards per average was bad, even though he couldn't get in the end zone. And I think the majority of that has to do with the team. And I would like to point out, I'm also the guy that was really low on him last year. I thought he was going to be the biggest bust. And I'm turning my tune now because finally you're getting him at a place that I think is obviously reasonable. And I think that a year under his belt with this offense, hopefully they address that offensive line. I really think they will do something, at least get one guy at least in the offseason to protect Darnold and to help this run game. I think his yards per average goes up, even if it doesn't even hit 4. And the fact that he only got in the end zone 4 times this year, 3 rushing and 1 receiving, those numbers, I can't imagine being worse than that. If they go worse, then we're in real trouble. But even with saying all that, I mean, last year he was still the 21st running back in standard, playing 14 games. Just by the sheer volume and him staying healthy on a bad team, if he gets back to anything that he used to look like, even if it's not the numbers, but just getting back to that 4 yards a clip mark, he's going to be, vying for that, that kind of 10th spot. So I do think that he's undervalued here. And he's just too good. Even on a bad team, he was still 21st, which is obviously very usable. I just didn't want to use a top, 10 pick on him.
No, yeah, exactly. That's why I like getting him where he's at right now. I think it's perfect. So, I mean, yeah, if he was ranked higher, I wouldn't be on board with this, but it's a good spot for him. All right, let's see here. So we've done our number 5s and your number 3. So I'll go to my number 4. So I went with a running back as well. This is another player that hopefully needs to stay healthy to be here. And I went with Kerryon Johnson. He's at 22 ranked right now, but I think you're getting a good running back at this spot, but he's had injury concerns. But that's why these players become, undervalued. That's why they're lower in the ranks. Pretty much my entire list is going to probably be, you can almost look at it either, almost all of them are going to have like an injury concern in the past that might be why they're down here. But Kerryon, I still believe in it. I think he's shown enough where he can be a good player if he can stay healthy. I think the Lions are going to be okay this year. I really do. Maybe that's just me drinking the Lions Kool-Aid right now already. I do it every offseason. Every time it happens. It's hard to be a Lions fan, and during the season it's the worst thing, but in every offseason you kind of think, hey, you know what, maybe this is the time they can do something, and I think Kerryon can be that player. And again, he has to stay healthy though. If he's healthy and he plays a full season, he will be much better than this 22 rank that he's currently on Fantasy Pros. It's simple as that. He just needs to stay healthy, and I think he's going to be up there, and they'll use him, and yeah, I think Kerryon Johnson, my number 4.
All right. Yeah, I think that analysis is pretty solid. If he stays healthy, I think he'll be pretty decent. My number 4, I went over to the wide receiver realm this time around, and it's a guy that I really don't talk about a whole lot. I think he's a talented guy, but I don't think, he's not the number 1 on his team. But Calvin Ridley in Atlanta. Obviously you still have Julio there, but he is aging. Not saying he's going to fall off. I'm not saying that at all, so don't get freaked out. But Calvin Ridley is always a guy that is surprisingly productive, even though he doesn't really get talked about a whole lot. He has a knack for getting in the end zone, and right now he was ranked near like wide receiver 30. I think I saw him at 27. You look at his last 2 years, he was positionally, so in wide receiver ranking, he was 18th, and then he was 23rd last year, even though he missed 3 games. So I think people are sleeping on him because maybe he's not the flashiest player, maybe he's not the number 1, maybe you worry about an aging Matt Ryan. Whatever it may be, he always puts up decent numbers, and last year, missing 3 games, he still beats this prediction, and he's a very young wide receiver still. So, Calvin Ridley.
So yeah, Ridley, if you look at his first 2 seasons, that's a really good first 2 seasons for a wide receiver. Again, we get spoiled sometimes with some of these guys that would come in and put up just massive numbers right away. But this right here, in the normal scheme of things, is a very good first 2 years in the league. 64 catches, 63 catches, over 800 yards both times, and 17 total touchdowns. That's really good first 2 seasons. And this is one of those guys I think could make that leap all of a sudden. And he has it in him, and all of a sudden, he just might make that leap, and we will be like, some point in the season, we could be like, yeah, why weren't we thinking Calvin Ridley? He didn't make my list today, but he was definitely one I looked at, and he would have been in my top 10. I think he really could take a jump up, and it's not going to say Julio is going to take a step down, but you also never know when that's going to happen with those receivers like that. It pretty much happens to any of those big time receivers that all of a sudden they just hit a spot and they fall off a bit. And Julio's 31 now. It could happen at any time.
Right.
It could happen. It really kind of started to happen to Calvin before he retired. That last year he wasn't as great. Andre Johnson, it happened to Andre Johnson. Happens to pretty much all of them.
And bigger wide receivers get hit a lot, and we don't really, it doesn't look like it, but obviously guys are bouncing off of them, but it still takes its toll.
So if you just been to base this onto some ranks here, who would you rather have? Calvin Ridley as the 22nd or DJ Moore as the 10th ranked wide receiver?
Oh, no, I would rather have Calvin.
Right? I mean, I like DJ Moore, but DJ
I
Moore,
do too.
he's
Nothing
up to
wrong
10th,
with him.
but the value, if you look at this kind of, you want Calvin Ridley as a 22nd as your wide receiver 2, even maybe 3, rather than DJ Moore as your 1. That's
Yeah, I mean,
that's weird.
And nothing against DJ Moore, but I don't want him as my 1 period. Like, even if I think it's honestly, I think that Calvin Ridley is good enough where if you're comparing the two, I think you could make a legitimate claim getting them at the same spot.
Right.
That you could make, if you said Calvin Ridley, I wouldn't think you're crazy. You know what I mean? I think that maybe DJ Moore is a spot or 2 ahead of him.
Well, maybe we have a candidate for overvalued next week.
Yeah,
but that's I love DJ Moore, though. That's a weird thing to say. But I think I kind of throwing it back at this rank, and it bothers me because I'm like, I'm not going to get him. So.
Yeah. 10th is, it's early, but I think 10th is way too high.
Yep. I kind of agree there. Sorry. So Calvin Ridley is your number 4.
My number 4.
Carrion was my number 4. Your number 3 is Le'Veon Bell. So I'll go my number 3, staying in wide receivers. I'm going with the injury theme here. And I went AJ Green. He's 28th right now in the ranks. And I guess this is the thing. We don't know what he's going to be. We don't have a clue. But if they get Joe, AJ Green's 31 too. He'll be 32 when the season starts. Man, I feel old. AJ Green's going to be a 32-year-old receiver. I mean, when did that happen?
I know, that's crazy.
Man, when? Yeah, seriously, I don't know when that happened. But I think AJ Green has something left in him. Joe Burrow there. I think there's going to be some kind of. He'll be good. He should be good. And at 28, that's down there. That's down there quite a bit. And I think you're getting really good value at that. I'll take a chance on AJ Green as my 3rd if you know he's healthy in the preseason. I'll take that chance because after AJ Green, the list of players I'm not as sure of. I'll say that. I guess you're not sure of him, but he has big time potential yet if he still has something left in him. And he might have a year left, might have 2, who knows. But I think there's something still there with AJ Green. So he made my list at number 3.
I mean, he was injured, but we just got a ton. And I mean, they're both big wide receivers. Julio is one of the all-time greats in my mind. But I mean, AJ wasn't that far off, right, before the injury. I mean, he's been putting up numbers after numbers. And we're talking about Julio still having some left in the tank at 31.
I think they do.
It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah, they still do. They're still not quite there. But but then again, if you told me that AJ Green was just done, he comes out next year and it's just over after the year of injury, maybe it is.
Yeah, I guess it wouldn't be shocking.
It wouldn't be shocking, but I'm not there yet. I think he has something left in him.
And I like the fact that they didn't rush him back last year, having that awful year. There was nothing to play for. So, get healthy. Maybe you extend his career by an extra season of good production.
Yep. They had no use for him last year. Good thing they didn't do that. So, all right, that's my number 3. So here we go. We got our top 2 left. Who do you have at number 2?
Number 2, and these two, they're both wide receivers, and I kind of juggled between which one I should have number 1. And I ended up, as my number 2, I put Cooper Kupp. I'm kind of just shocked at this one. I don't know why he dropped in a lot of these rankings, but I looked at a couple of them, and he was ranked at 23rd and 22nd. I realized that their offense was, got pretty stale there at the end, but he didn't regress. I mean, he was very, very good. He finished as the 4th wide receiver overall. And right now you're ranking him as the 23rd or 22nd, like mid-20s. I just don't get I just don't understand that. I like him. He has a knack for the end zone as well. I mean, 5 touchdowns, 6 in only 8 games, and then 10 last year when they were kind of sputtering and, so and they targeted him 134 times. I don't know. I can't wrap my head around why in the world he'd be in the 20s. I mean, if you want to downgrade him and he's somewhere in that teen range, but if you can get him as your wide receiver 2, that is phenomenal for me. So I think he is being very undervalued.
And maybe it's because he started the year so strong and then he had that stretch where he didn't do anything, I guess. I mean, didn't do anything. He had touchdowns, though. He had touchdowns in each of the last 5 games.
Sure, and he did, but the whole offense kind of slowed down. So unless you really think that they've completely figured out McVay and that offense won't even get off the ground at all next year, but I still think this one is just a wild overcorrection, especially when, is anyone going to be up there? Is obviously people are kind of down on Cooks, people are down on Woods. They don't really have the tight end was starting to be an up and comer. You still have Gurley there. So I just feel like this is a crazy overcorrection for a, bad last 5 games or so.
Because that's all it was, right? It wasn't in, I'm telling you, he had those touchdowns. It is kind of weird, actually. Okay, I pulled up Fantasy Pros, and he's currently 19th right now. So he was ranked higher last year in the preseason, basically, coming off an ACL injury.
Right.
And so he comes off an ACL injury, puts up, 94 catches for 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns off of an ACL injury that happened late in 2018. So it wasn't even a full year before the season started. And he's that far down.
Right. And what you said right there, 19th, that is the best I saw his ranking.
Yeah.
Which is just mind-blowing to me. I don't get it.
And in standard scoring, he finished 7th or something this year? Or
4th, I thought.
4th? Is it 4th?
Or am I
right. You might be right. I think you're right. I just pulled up he's up there.
Or is it? Oh, okay. Maybe he is 7th. I don't know. Maybe it was after week 17, he was 4th. But yeah, okay. So
I think
he was in the
week
top
16,
10 either way.
Yeah. After week 16, he was 7th.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
But still, it is weird. He didn't make my list, but as I'm going through this, I feel like he should have. Yeah. If you listen to the show over the last few years, you guys know I have this weird Cooper Kupp bias. I don't know what it is against him. And it's been this weird thing. It's not like I dislike him for some reason. I don't know what it is. It's been weird. We did turn around on that last year. The funny thing is we turned around on it the second he became not as good. But but when you look at the year and the overall stats and where he finished, why is he ranked 19th? It does not make sense, right? He should not be behind Devontae Parker.
No, there's no way. And the ever-loving Jesus. And you look at it, too, the year before that when he went down with that ACL injury, right? I mean, he went through 8 weeks and was on an absolute tear. And then you come back and you put together another year where you're in the top 10. Like, imagine, with these, they always think that the year after they'll actually be better.
Right?
It's kind of one of those, like, you get 1 year of rehab, kind of like 1 year under your belt, and I don't know.
He might not have been 100%.
Yeah. And Goff and the whole thing. I mean, I don't know. I saw him and I was like, maybe I'm missing something. That's the only thing I could think.
I should have put him on my list. I really think I think he should be there. I think this is a good one. So I like Cooper Kupp number 2. All right, so my number 2, I went with a wide receiver as well. Another guy who's way down the list. I mean, again, it's because the season wasn't anything. It was not good, but there was definitely it's injury. It was injury, and he only played 10 games. And I put Adam Thielen number 2 for me. And look at the numbers; they weren't good. He played 10 games, he had 30 catches, 418 yards, 6 touchdowns, and so none of that looks good. But he was still, he was pretty good for the beginning of the season. There, he wasn't great, but he was, right before his injury, he had like 7 for 130 and 2 touchdowns. He had 6 for 57 and a touchdown, and then came the injury in the game against Detroit. I believe right after he caught a touchdown pass right away, early on, 1 for 25, a touchdown. So it's like he was just starting to come on there a little bit. And even in the games at the beginning of the year weren't great, but he had 2 touchdowns in the first 4. I think he was coming on there, and then he gets hurt. He comes back after only 1 week off, and he gets hurt right away. And then he only comes back for the last 2 games there and does nothing. So kind of a lost season. I think he was just starting to turn it on there. And so Adam Thielen being 26th, I believe, on Fantasy Pros right now. I think that's way too low for him. I think he's going to be fine. Overall, the funny thing is that offense, I think, was getting better and was finally figuring it out. And I think it'll keep going this year. So Adam Thielen, I think he should be higher than where he's at right now.
I really like that pick. I did not put him on there, but I think that was my missed opportunity.
There's the same thing. Cooper Kupp, Adam Thielen, they both should be higher. We both should have put the other one on the list too,
I really like that one. That's a good pick.
Yeah, I think he's just way too low. It's just his numbers just look bad, really bad. And the injury, I mean, he was just, I think, starting to come on there. And he's good. He's a good player. And I think that offense is going to be good. So I think there we go. All right, number 1. So you have a receiver, you said. So we do not have the same player here. So
no, okay, and I know that I will get crap for this one immediately. I know this. It's a little bit of a chip on my shoulder because he was really high for me last year, and I will blame injury, but not because it happened to him necessarily, even though he did miss 4 games, but it happened to his QB, and I'm going with Juju. I still believe in the guy, still believe in his talent. I think he is far too good for what happened to him last year, the perfect storm of just crap. You got landed on him with like a dysfunctional team and, just a lethargic offense after Roethlisberger goes down, and then your second quarterback goes down, and then obviously you have a good defense, so you guys can rely on that. He was the only one they had a guard on that entire team, so he only got in the end zone 3 times. They just could not get him the ball. I think Roethlisberger back. I think they can get this whole offense back on track, and I think he will shoot up boards. Right now you see him going as high as like 25th. I don't know what he is on Fantasy Pros, but so I know that I think that's far too much, and I totally understand if people want to put him in the teens because of how terrible last year was. I understand the fear, but I still think that is, as long as Roethlisberger is healthy, I almost feel like this is the Kerryon Johnson version of yours, because as long as they have the healthy starting quarterback, his numbers will return in a significant way. I have no doubt in my mind about it. So Juju has got to be number 1 for me, and it is a little bit of a sticking point because I'm still angry I didn't get to see what he could do as the number 1 wide receiver last year.
So you go in with a guy you're banking on him again. I like Juju. I just didn't make my list, so I do think he's undervalued though. But so you're going with a guy who you're going to stick with from last year. No one else is going to be on board. And I'm doing kind of the same thing, I feel like.
Yes. Join
in a
me.
way. I'm a guy I've been hyping, and injuries, this is to him that have hurt him, but I still believe in the talent, and not everyone's on board, and it's Darius Geis.
Yes. I feel like he's going to have he's going to do it's like Newton or something, he's going to have the Superman thing on. I feel like every time you announce him, he just is flexing that Superman thing, eventually the injured Superman.
It's going to happen. They just brought back Adrian Peterson for the year, so obviously they're not sold. The Redskins aren't sold on it. But it's a new coaching staff, new training staff. There we go. That's why he's going to get healthy.
If you pull out stats about the training staff, and how many years they have under their belt or something, I would just be like,
he's coming over from the Panthers. I do know that. And he,
I don't know about that. Cam Newton just missed an entire year.
That's true. They got rid of they fired their longtime head trainer. He'd been with the team for 17 years. I don't know if that's good. He's stuck in his old ways, right? And
there we go. Get some new blood.
There's been with the Redskins and their training staff, I'll be honest, there's been some interesting issues over the years, and then I don't know what happened with Trent Williams.
That's a big one.
That whole thing, who knows?
He just refused to play because he thought they didn't treat him or diagnose him correctly, and he thought that his injuries were because of that. So that's very, very true. They have had and that was very public too.
Yep. And then I'm reading an article about one with Colt McCoy's broken leg. It said which took 10 months to heal instead of just the 1 to 2 months it should have. So.
Were they re-breaking it for him?
I don't 10 months to heal from a broken leg. What's that? So, maybe that's part of it. Maybe this new training staff can figure something out, because his last injury last year, both injuries last year, they were more minor than obviously the ACL was the big deal. That's a fluke thing. This past year, I don't know, what was it? Maybe it's coming back from the ACL. And, there is complications with that. Like we said, Cooper Kupp actually played really well coming off an ACL. Sometimes they do, like Peterson did years ago. Sometimes remember Jamal Charles? He never became right after his ACL, or after his second ACL. His first one, he was fine. Geis, I just believe the guy is talented, and we've seen it last year. We really did. In those games where he actually played, he looked really good. So, if he gets hurt again, obviously this guy is injury prone, and there's nothing he can do about it. And it doesn't matter how talented he is, it won't do anything. But he had 42 carries for 245 yards. That's 5.8 yards per carry, and his little bit of work there. He looked good. So I'm going all in on Darius Geis for 2020 again. And right now he's ranked late 20s in most ranks I see. And Fantasy Pros, he's 27th right now in the consensus ranks. So I think he's below Kareem Hunt, who's a second running back. He's below David Montgomery, who I don't believe in. So he's below James Conner, who I honestly don't believe in James Conner either. So I like Darius Geis, and he's my number one. So there we go. We're going all in on a couple guys there.
We kept the number one spot open for our true to our heart players.
Yep. I think Geis is going to make a lot of lists for me this year. This is his second list he's made, I believe now. So,
that's going to be one heck of a team to watch too, because I brought up Bryce Love being one of my sleepers, even though he's not even on the freaking radar. Someone has to come out of that, and someone's got to be worthwhile. Maybe it'll be AP again.
Who knows? Guy's still going. But all right, that will do it for this week. And then we'll be back next week. We'll do top 5 overvalued players, which looking through these lists, I already know of a couple. No problem. It's I'll just throw out a name already. He's going to be on my list next week, Devontae Parker. So that's going to be easy. He's way too high ranked. He shouldn't be ahead of Juju. He shouldn't be ahead of Diggs. He shouldn't be ahead of Cup. It's just ridiculous. So there you go. There's a preview for next week. We'll see where he lands on the list. How about that? But all right, that'll do it. We'll talk to you guys next week.